Hi everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a type of sampling method called snowball sampling. And we will talk about what is snowball sampling, the different ways you can engage in snowball sampling, the different types of snowball sampling, the advantages, the disadvantages, things that you should be mindful of, and so on. So everything that you need to know about the snowball sampling method and when to use it, of course. So a snowball sampling is undertaken when you recruit one participant or you recruit a few participants that you are aware of, and then you ask them to provide you with referrals about other participants who also qualify for your research study. So let's take an example that you are an academic in a university and you want to study how full-time workers who are doing their PhD part-time are getting impacted by their full-time work, or what is the impact of full-time work on the PhD progress of part-time students. Now, because you are an academic in a university, you may only have access to few PhD students, or you may not even know that out of the PhD students that you know, how many of them are employed as full-time workers and they are doing their research part-time. So you engage the PhD students that you know for sure are doing full-time work and doing part-time study, and then once you interview them, you can ask them to provide you with referrals of other PhD students that they know of who are doing full-time work and doing part-time study. Sometimes it is a good idea for you to use that method because there could be PhD students who have not declared to their university that they are doing full-time, so only few people might know. The disadvantage is sometimes people don't want to share that information with you. So although you may find a referral, you may get a referral, and when you contact that PhD student, they may refuse to accept that they're doing full-time work, because that was one of the conditions of the university when they hired them as a PhD student, that they should not be doing full-time work. So in this case, there is this advantage and disadvantage. So what are the different types of snowball sampling? So there is something called a linear snowball sampling. That is when you recruit one participant, that participant refers you to another candidate, the other candidate refers you to another candidate, so on and so forth. So one candidate refers you to the other, and you keep doing that till you reach your target sample size, right? The other one is called the exponential discriminatory snowball sampling, and we have exponential non-discriminatory snowball sampling as well. So what is exponential discriminatory? Exponential discriminatory is when you recruit one participant and that one participant refers you to some more participants who may qualify for your research study. Now what you do is then you evaluate the participants who have been referred, and then you decide which of them qualify for your research study. Alright, so you get referrals of a few candidates, but then you go and find out which of them qualify for your research study. I will give you an example. Let's say you are investigating the impact of violence on a person's, if a person has experienced violence, what is their impact of it on their marriage? Alright, now you may be looking purely at domestic violence. So the person that you recruit, you explain to them that you are looking at domestic violence cases, whereas they refer you to some people who may not have experienced domestic violence, but they might have experienced other types of violence, like violence on the streets, or maybe mugging, or a terrorist attack, some other kinds of violence, because they did not understand that you are looking at home violence cases only. So at that point of time, you start evaluating the referrals, find out who has actually experienced domestic violence only, and then you select them. There is also exponential non-discriminatory snowball sampling, whereas of course you recruit one participant and that participant refers you to 10 others or 12 others or 20 others, and you interview them to get to your sample size. This is of course when for example it is often used in medical research. So for example, you are investigating the prevalence of a particular skin disease. So you know of one participant, and because people may be a bit sensitive, they don't want to share that information with others, that participant refers you to others who are having skin disease, and you contact the others who are having the similar kind of skin disease or any kind of skin disease, and you get access to a larger participants. So this is often the case with medical researchers, because in medical research often participants or population or people don't want to share their medical history often, unless it is for examination or medical purposes only, but often they don't want to share it for research purposes. So at that point of time, this kind of exponential non-discriminatory snowball sampling comes into play or handy. Often social science researchers also use this kind of technique, because they can also get access to as many participants as they can, especially if they are studying a population size or a sample size. Population size, they are studying a population. They want to know, for example, how many people have left work because of sexual harassment at the workplace. Now this is kind of a confidential data, and you want to study a population, you want to study maybe one city or a suburb that you are looking into, and many people don't want to share that kind of information. But if you can find one person and then they know of other cases, or there could be people who are recovering alcoholics, recovering drug addicts. So this is also cases where people don't want to divulge such information, but if you know one or two people, they can refer you to other people that they know. And the other reason that this often happens is also often when people don't want to share this data, and it is a bit sensitive data, and sharing this data may affect their social standing. So let's say somebody's past history, so somebody was working as a sex worker before, or somebody was recruited by ISIS or a terrorist organization before. So I'm again talking about very peculiar examples, but researchers are researching in variety of areas. So often in such areas, participants hesitate to put their hand up and volunteer them for research. In such cases, it is a good way of getting to your target and sample size as well. The problem with this is, of course, the disadvantages of snowball sampling. First, I will say is that you need to establish the margin of error. So margin of error normally in most of the research is between 90 to 95%, and if you want to know how to calculate margin of error, you can find it on Google. There's a formula which takes into account the standard deviation, the sample size, so on. So often people have a margin of error from 90 to 95%. So you need to establish your margin of error as to how much is your margin of error, and make sure that you stick to it. The second is that often you might get some bias in your data, because you are getting referral from people, and that is not a random sampling. You are actually getting referral from one person to the other and then to the other. So there might be some bias in your data which you then need to address. Often people don't want to participate. That's another problem with snowball sampling, is that people have the examples I've given you. When people don't want to share their private data, they will hesitate to participate. They will not agree to participate. So in that case, your referral stops with the person who refuses to participate, or refuses to divulge any data about other participants as well that they know of. The advantage, however, is that, of course, the biggest advantage is that you can quickly find your targeted sample. You don't have to do much research before getting to your target sample. It is the faster way of doing it. It is cost effective of reaching out to your sample size, and you know exactly that the people you are interviewing are the people that you want to look for. So these are the advantages and disadvantages, and I've told you when to use it for. So how do you go about doing this snowball sampling? Is that, of course, you find the first person, ask them to give you a referral to the other person. Make sure you evaluate that referral. So what I mean by evaluating is that you make sure that the person that you have been referred to actually qualifies for your research. They meet all the criteria before you waste your time or their time. Make sure that you keep privacy of the candidate. So again, this is a disadvantage of snowball sampling, is that people hesitate to participate because they fear that their privacy will not be protected. So you make sure that you assure the participant that their privacy will be protected, and no data will be revealed unless, of course, they have given you permission to do so. So this is the way. So you get a referral, make sure you evaluate the candidate to confirm that they qualify, they meet the criteria for your research. You ensure their privacy, because when you ensure their privacy, they know that the privacy of the person they have referred you to will also be ensured, and then you get more referrals like that. You establish your margin of error, make sure you stick to that margin of error. Normally, like I said, it's between 90 to 95%, plus minus 2% or 3% or 5%, and then you reach the target sample. So that is the way you do that. So let me know if there are any questions. I don't like to make my videos very long, otherwise it gets a bit boring, but I need to cover all the essential aspects of the topic that I'm talking about. So if I have missed anything, please make sure that you write it in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, and I look forward to hearing from you. And I will put up my new video very soon. Thank you for sharing, liking, and subscribing. Bye for now.